You being the smartest guy in football, do you think the Bears are going to be the worst team in the NFL?
Nah, I can't see them being the worst team.
For real?
You know, they may finish last in their division. I mean, the Lions have made some good moves the last couple of years.
Look, the biggest podcast where you can learn them lessons. Line for line where you can learn from different sections. Made it out the mud, come tell your story, blessings. Never know who listening, never know who stressing. Devon gave you a voice, come speak your honest truth. Line for line, go ball for ball, it's up to you. Wanna talk sports, gov, and politics? Wanna talk about where you from and your accomplishments? The Line for Line is really where you need to be. A platform that's really made for folks like you and me.
All right, just like that, we're back in another episode of the Bears Report. We have a very special guest in the building today. Before we get ready to let him introduce himself, I'll tell you, my name is Devon, the host with the most. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave an interactive comment for me and my guest. Just like that, Lester, go ahead and tell him something good.
You know, it's always good. It's the summertime. It's nice out. The pool is ready at my house, so I'm going to be swimming this weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, you know we're here. We're here for the Bears Report. Just tell us what you've been seeing with camp and everything going on.
Camp is officially over. They had their final press conferences yesterday from it, and I mean, I'm excited. I mean, things didn't go exactly as planned, you know, the whole off season. Mm-hmm. But you know what? The arrow's pointing up on the franchise, you know, and the record may not be what we all want it to be at the end of the season, but I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, a lot of people want to know, what's up with the boy Robert Quinn? What's up with all the trade rumors? What's up with him saying he won't show up to camp, things of that nature?
Coach Eberflus mentioned it on his press conference. He said he doesn't care. He said at this point, it's not a big deal to him. You know, he knows he's a pro. You know, he doesn't go to any of the OTAs or stuff like that. He skipped the mandatory mini camp, which obviously is a bigger deal, but he's a pro. He'll be ready. He understands what he has to do to get his body right. He'll be there. And as far as the trade goes, I think he would probably want to be traded. I mean, if you were 32, you had only a few prime years left. The Bears are kind of rebuilding. So I think if the trade is there for him, I think he wants to go, and I think the Bears will make a move.
Now, when we do talk about trade, what could you see the Bears possibly getting for a man of his age? Because he's on the latter end of his career. He did produce last year, but obviously you go to a new team, new regime, new system, you may not produce the same.
Khalil Mack pulled a 2 and a 6, and he's a better football player. Mm-hmm. Von Miller, who got traded a couple seasons ago at the trade deadline, I think he pulled a 2 and I think a 4. So I think the Bears wanted to hold on to Quinn until the trade deadline, or at least wait till training camp to see if another team had an injury. They had an opening for an edge rusher, you know. But right now, if the Bears do trade him now, if they pull a 3 or even a 4, I think that's really all you can expect, just because of the age, the contract. Everyone knows he wants out, you know, so there'll be no bidding war for him. But if they somehow hold on to him, keep him through training camp, you know, extend it, you know, let him flash a little bit again, and then you might get a contender at the deadline. Say, hey, we got to get Quinn. He is the missing piece to our run. Then you may get that too.
Yes, so not a number 1 pick?
Nah.
Come on, man. You don't see.
I mean, it would be great. I mean, it's all desperation at this point. You know, if there are a few teams that need an edge rusher, contenders, you get a bidding war going possibly, but I just don't see it. I mean, if Mack, the best you got for Mack was a 2 and a 6, you're not going to get nothing like that for Quinn.
Yes, sir.
Not bad.
Now, with the departure of Mack, Hicks, a couple other pieces on that line, how much do you think that played into Quinn wanting out of Chicago?
You know, I mean, he sees what's going on here. He knows it's a new regime, a new head coach, new offense, new defense. You know, he saw what the record was last year, not very good. He knows this team is not going to be the best this season. So, again, at his age, he'd rather go somewhere where he can win a ring.
What would you say, like an 8 to 9 win team? How many?
You're always trying to get me to make a prediction. It's way too early. But, you know, I mean, I think if everything goes right, like perfect season, if they can hover around 500, I think that's the best you can ask for.
So you know, playoffs, you talk about 500, you talk about maybe a wild card spot. Right,
well, in the NFC, it's possible. I mean, the Bears got in a couple years ago at 8 and 8. Mm-hmm. It's possible. The NFC is not the strongest, but you know, I don't see that happen.
No
playoffs.
That's what I keep telling people: 4 to 5 wins. You know, like,
I mean, if it's 4 or 5 wins, but Justin Fields looks good, the defense is making plays. You know, the rookies are balling out. That's a good season, you know?
My biggest thing is just get Fields looking good.
That's the key.
To make receivers want to come out and play with him and want to go to Chicago, like a DK Metcalf. Even though I've been seeing all these articles, don't be surprised if the Bears land DK Metcalf. No. The Bears are not going to land a big name like that this year, at least.
I mean, if they do get him, it's going to be a trade, and we saw how Ryan Poles operates. He's not looking to make a big splashy trade. He's looking to hold on to his draft picks, hold on to his cap space, and then let this season play out, evaluate his talent, and then when that's over with in the offseason, then he'll make a move. And then, if at that point, if Metcalf's a free agent, you make a move. Or a guy like Terry McLaurin from Washington, he could be a free agent as well. So there'll be some players out there. But if not, I mean, you have Mooney, who the Bears are high on. Velus Jones, the rookie, they're high on him.
The 25-year-old.
The 25-year-old. But, man, he had a great camp.
I know.
The coaches all talk about him, which is normal. Mm-hmm. But in the press conference, the players are talking about him without being asked. Mm-hmm. They're just bringing up his explosiveness. They're excited to see him in the offense. So I think it's going to be, I think he may be a lot better than what a lot of fans think.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you can see the Bears sneaking in some Wildcat this year?
It's possible. I mean, it's RPO. Part of the offense is the RPO. Mm-hmm. Along with that could be some Wildcat stuff. We saw David Montgomery running in the past. Velus Jones, they say he has that Deebo Samuel type of skill set, which that's because of the size.
I know.
His physicality with the ball in his hands. He likes to break tackles. I don't see it happening. Even with Deebo didn't become Deebo until his third season. Mm-hmm. The first couple of years, he didn't do that. So I can't see it happening with Velus Jones right off the gate. But it may happen.
I hate when they try to mimic these other things. Because I remember for the longest time,
it's always a comp. They want to find a comp.
They were saying Tariq Cohen was the Bears' Tyreek Hill. I was like, there is no Tyreek Hill in the NFL. The only Tyreek Hill in the NFL is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So I was like, stop with these makeshift names and all that. Let these cats go out here and play ball. Now, obviously, with the camp being over and everything like that, what did you see the signs of Justin Fields? What did you see from him?
I mean, everyone's talking about how he looked. He even talks about he's not where he wants to be. The offense is not where it wants to be. That's what the coach mentioned in his press conference, that the offense is not where it needs to be, but either is the defense. Special teams. It's all a work in progress. He talked about how the OTAs and the minicamp is the foundation. They'll build on that in training camp, and it's a work in progress, but the offense system, with Luke Getsy, it's that Shanahan style. There's several teams that run it. It's very successful. Coach Eberflus picked this offense because it's hard for him to defend as a coordinator. That's why he wanted this guy in. So they believe in it, and I think it'll be fine with Justin Fields.
Yes, sir. Now, if you had to say the most thing that you see that he needs to improve on, what would you say it is?
I mean, same as last year. I mean, coming off it, he has to work on his pocket presence. He took too many sacks. He fumbled too much. That he talked about how he's working on that. Part of it is with the mechanics, holding the ball a little higher and tighter to himself when he's in the pocket. Mm-hmm. He's never going to be a guy that is the quick to check down. It's his mentality to be hold it a little too long and look to go deep. So we'll have to see how the pocket holds up for him. But in time he'll learn that. But he's a young quarterback and he's got to get there.
Yes, sir. Now, how much of the offensive line would you say needs to be revamped for them to have even a shot at having a decent season?
Well, at the last session of OTAs, they had Cody Whitehair was out. I think it was the birth of his child.
Okay.
They gave Lucas Patrick most of the day off, so they had a bunch of rookies starting in that O-line at point. So. Right now you are having a rookie, Braxton Jones, starting at left tackle.
I keep hearing his name over and over and over and over.
He's so far so good. I mean, he's legit. I mean, he is definitely a good prospect at that spot. You got to look at the draft. Yeah, he was a 5th round pick, but that was the COVID draft they call it because so many guys played an extra year in college. Mm-hmm. So that draft class was huge. On a normal year, Braxton Jones may have been a 3rd round pick. He may have even gone higher than that. It all depends on how things would have fell, but. Jones has got good size. He's a good athlete. He fits what they want to do offensively as far as the scheme. So maybe he'll hold on to that spot all year.
Come on, man. Stop playing.
I mean, he's the 5th round pick, but he's been running with the ones. They believe in him enough to at least give him the shot. And then once the pads come on, if he can, show that he's physical enough, maybe he keeps it. They have Larry Borum at right tackle.
They're high on him though.
Last year's second-round draft pick Tevin Jenkins is backing up. He's with the twos right now.
Why though?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I mean, if you look at what they did in college, he was a much better prospect than Borum. A part of it could be Borum, I think, had 8 games last year, 8 starts between his injuries. Tevin Jenkins really only started 1 game last year. So, maybe he's just slow to get back to in his actual football shape.
He lost a lot of weight.
He did. He
which
cut
doesn't
some
mean
weight.
you're in football shape just because you lose weight, but he lost a lot of weight. He's slimmed down as well too. Maybe a little bit quicker. What do you think is going on with that?
I think once they get the pads on, he'll be able to show what he can do. But right now, Borum is ahead of him.
At what point would you be worried Tevin Jenkins is still with the twos?
About midway through camp. If he hasn't taken a job, once they get the pads on. I mean, Jenkins is a physical. He's Mauler. He's a nasty dude. If he gets the pads on and he still can't win the job, I guess I could look at it as a negative, but the flip side is that's a positive for Borum, positive for Braxton Jones, that those guys are playing well enough where they're keeping a second-round draft pick on the bench.
Come on. Why you got to keep saying all that, keeping him on the bench?
Well, I mean, they said he's not going to guard, and the Bears have a pretty big hole at right guard now. So unless something changes in training camp where they decide to let Jenkins work in a little bit at right guard as well, he's working right tackle, and if he can't beat out Borum, I guess,
Dude, what do you think just happened though? Because they were high on him when he came back last year. They were saying they got the alignment of the future. What's up with that?
New regime, new coaching staff, a whole new set of eyes on him, and maybe he's just not where they want him, or maybe it's just like I said, it's just because basically one start a year ago, they just don't think he's ready or it could be a mental thing. Maybe he's not picked up the playbook as quick as Borum did. Again, right now it's just shorts and shells is all they're practicing. There's nothing physical. It's all passing game.
Yeah.
I think Jenkins will show his worth once he gets the pads on.
And you think he'll be back in the starting role?
I do think that still. I've been saying it the whole offseason. I said I'm not worried at all. I think at the end of the day, he's one of your best 5.
You think so?
I mean, I think he has to be. Again, I'm going off his college tape. He was a mauler in college. He looked fantastic. I was excited when the Bears drafted him. I graded the one game he started in the NFL, and he was really good. He made some mistakes. The game he came in, in reserve of Jason Peters, he made a lot of mistakes.
What happened to Jason Peters?
He's old, man. He's back fishing somewhere. He's like 40, right?
Yeah, I think he was like 39.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's fishing somewhere, and he'll be on his dock. And if someone calls, in August, he may answer, but I think he may be done.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy when he did go. He was pretty decent.
He was solid. Yeah, he was good at left tackle, and but you knew it was never going to be. This is the problem with last year with the coaching staff is they never should have gave Peters those last few games to start. Once Tevin Jenkins was back and healthy, ready to go, they should have let him go. But Matt Nagy was coaching for his job. He was coaching for wins. He wasn't trying to he didn't want to see the rookies play. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem with having a lame duck coach. The Bears as an organization should have fired Nagy midway through the season. Had the interim guy, hey, we're here to evaluate the young guys, and then they would have no more going forward. But that's not Nagy's. That wasn't his forte. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to win, and he wanted to play the older guys because he trusted them more.
Yeah. Last thing on the offensive line, who would you say would be the starters this upcoming season?
Well, right now it's Braxton Jones, it's Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick.
Lucas Patrick is going to come in at center and start?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the guy. Yeah, he's been at center all the whole offseason. They signed him for center. He'll play center. He can play guard as well.
Packers, right?
Came from the Packers.
Yeah.
Sam Mustipher is just starting right guard right now, which makes a lot of fans nervous.
What? You think so? A lot of people were high on him out of Notre Dame.
They were, but then he played a lot, and he got pushed around a little bit. But the thing with Mustipher is he's a really smart player. He understands that part of the game. He's a good leader. The players all respect him. He understands what he's doing out there. So if he gets the physical stuff going, which, you can build muscle mass, you can work on that. You can work on your quickness. If he hits that, he has the technique, he has the smarts, he has leadership, maybe he's a diamond in the rough. Big maybe. But and then at right tackle right now is Borum. But like I said, I still think Tevin Jenkins will be your starter at right tackle when it's all said and done.
So that means Borum's on the bench.
I think Borum's your swing tackle. He could play a little right, a little left tackle. I think he's probably fits in there. Just because I think Braxton Jones, from a physical standpoint, I think he gives you more than Borum does. Mm-hmm. We have to wait and see when the pads go on. I'm sure I'll go to camp a couple times this year. I try and go every year, but that's what I'm going to look at when I go down. I'm going to be focusing on the offensive line.
They let you bring cameras and stuff too, or no?
Yeah, you can film somewhat, but your guy Greg Braggs, who was on the show, one of the shows with us together, he got everyone in trouble for filming too much.
No way.
Oh yeah, that's the Greg Braggs rule.
What? Stop playing.
Yeah.
Wait, for filming too much?
So he would film it and stream it on Facebook or Twitter and stuff, and
they don't like that, huh?
the Bears don't let you do it. Then they made a rule so you can't do it. People still do it, but then when they catch you, then it's like it's a problem. So
what happens if they catch you?
I don't know. They never caught me.
Now let's move back to that defensive side of the ball, particularly that secondary. That secondary is looking good, man. Your boy Brisker, they're saying he's going to come in and be ready to go day one.
He's been starting the entire offseason so far, so he's starting with Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson talked about him. He likes how he plays. He likes that Brisker's able to play in the box more, which likes Jackson more. Yeah, I mean that's not his thing. He wants to be free and roam.
Everybody can tackle.
Anybody can tackle. Yeah. So yeah, Brisker's fitting in nicely. The coach talked about him a lot. Said he's showing them everything they need to see so far. Kyler Gordon got their first second-round draft pick. He's been hurt still. He hasn't really played much. He's there. He's engaged. He's on the bike doing some conditioning work, but he hasn't been practicing. In typical Bears fashion,
it's just short,
they haven't said anything, so no one knows what it is. It could be minor. It could be, technically he's not signed yet. Him or Brisker, they haven't signed their deals yet technically. So maybe they're just kind of waiting with Gordon. Maybe something's going on. But I think if he's healthy, he should be starting as well at corner.
Nah, for real? But they were saying your boy Graham
has been starting at nickel.
I saw some things today saying that he's one of the players to watch out for second year comeback.
Yeah, I mean, they signed Tevin Young from the Ravens, who is a nickel, one of the best nickels in the game a couple years ago before injuries kind of sapped some of that. But Graham's been starting at nickel. I think that's a Ryan Pace pick, so that's a good pick for him right there. If Graham can be that guy, and 2 years ago when he played in college, he was fantastic, and then of course he set out a year for COVID, so that's kind of why he fell to the 6th round. But the talent's there. He has great instincts. I think he's a good fit. He's not the quickest of athletes, but this is more of a zone-based defense. Kind of fits what he wants to do, and he's a physical player, so I think he fits in well.
Yeah, man, I'm just really highly anticipated on seeing what this defense is going to bring.
Yeah.
Seriously, I see you got Roquan coming back as well too, a dog. Who you got paired next to him?
It's the free agent pickup they got from the Raiders. Those two are going to be your two main linebackers. Whoever plays the Sam, I think right now it's kind of up in the air. They did sign Adams from the Colts, but he's more a special teams guy. They have a couple other guys they signed that are more special teams guys, but right now it's probably Adams at the Sam. But whether he plays or not, it doesn't matter because that guy comes off the field during nickel, so he only plays about 40% of the reps anyway. So, but then they got that kid from Wisconsin in free agency who he makes surprises as well, the undrafted free agent. His name escapes me right now, but I mean he has a chance if he shows something to maybe get some work at the Sam.
That makes you miss Danny Trevathan already, doesn't it?
Never. And then Caleb Johnson also, last year's UDFA. He's done good so far. So I mean they got plenty of guys that's in the mix to play at that Sam. They'll get it figured out once the pads go on.
Yes, sir. Of course. As we get ready to close out this amazing episode, is there anything that you would like to add about what we've been seeing from the Bears and going forward?
Just fans got to understand where this team is right now. I mean, a lot of fans, especially on Twitter, it's like they're really overrating it. Like they really, really want it to be, an elite team off the bat. And it's like, come on, And then there's other fans that go the other way where they're going to be, garbage. And it's like, come on, they'll be somewhere in the middle. Again, if it's about the development of the players, Fields, Roquan, if some of these guys on the line, the rookies, Velus Jones, Brisker, if the development's there as a Bears fan, but the wins aren't, that's a win as a franchise.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 questions before we close out. Who's the best player, hands down, on the Bears team right now?
Probably Roquan, right? I mean, he's coming off 2 second-team All-Pro bids. He never made the Pro Bowl yet. But
why is it that you think?
That Roquan's the best? I mean, he's just...
No, that he hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet.
I think it's just the wins. A lot of times Pro Bowl's a popularity thing. With the All-Pro, it's a little different voting process. So that's why he's made 2 second-team All-Pros. He's there. Plus, there's been some good players in front of him for the Pro Bowl in the NFC. So I mean, he'll get that recognition. But at the end of the day, he's going to get that paycheck because he's a free agent after this season. So, I think the Bears will figure something out to get him extended and bring him back.
So you think they are going to?
Oh yeah, I mean he is a perfect fit for this defense, which is all based on speed, right? The Tampa 2 style. You know, he's not sure. They're still haven't said if he's playing the Mike or the Will yet. In practice, he's kind of doing both. So regardless of where he is, it's speed. You know, and Roquan has speed. You know, he's a 4.5 guy. You know, he has that speed. You know, so they'll bring him back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Second question is, I know you saw Mr. Riddick on TV saying the Bears are going to be the worst team in the NFL. What did you think about that?
It's funny because, like, the last couple of years, Bears fans love Louis Riddick because him and Matt Nagy were friends. He would always talk about the Bears, you know, positively. He liked Mitch for the longest time. Then Mitch was gone. Then, of course, he turned and everything's different. And then he loves Fields, you know. So now it's like, I mean, Riddick's being honest. I mean, this is what he thinks. He doesn't have some agenda. But Bears fans hate him now.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. It's like, come on, he's just doing his job. And then plus, you know, it's Chicago. You know, if you take a shot at Chicago, big market, a lot of vocal fans. We're talking about it now on this podcast. It makes news. So when you take a shot at the Bears, you're going to get some clicks, so to speak.
Yes, sir. With you being the smartest guy in football, do you think the Bears are going to be the worst team in the NFL?
Nah, I can't see them being the worst team.
For real?
You know, they may finish last in their division. I mean, the Lions have made some good moves the last couple of years. You know, they're a little ahead of the rebuild, so to speak, because they're in year 2 of the Campbell regime. You know, I think the Lions and Bears are going to be battling out for fourth in the NFC North. But I can't see the Bears being the worst team in the league. Well, there's some bad teams out there.
At least we're closing out this podcast on a good note. The Bears aren't going to be the worst team in the NFL. You heard it here first. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been another episode of the Bears Report.
You calling or you listening, tune in every week. Line for line. Oh yeah, I'm going line for line.